Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's intuitive conversation, where our intention is to discuss that which is most critical and most transformational for you, the listener. My name is Benny Ferguson. I'm the founder of Consciousness Ascending, and today we are having a conversation with Fonda Clayton. Fonda is the founder of 5D Self Mastery, a community based platform for those who are ready to own their sovereignty and embody their sacred wholeness. She helps women recognize that splitting themselves into pieces and parts of themselves is disempowering and will always have them looking outside of the self for validation. Fonda is a certified life coach, polarity therapist, licensed massage therapist, published author, podcaster, and mother of personal freedom. You can reach her at embody5d.com and Fonda Clayton on Instagram. Fonda, welcome to the conversation.
Hey, Benny.
How
Thanks
are
for
you?
having me. I'm
Yeah,
great. Thank you so much.
yeah,
Yeah, how you
yeah.
doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Awesome, awesome. So what's been happening? It's been a minute since the last time we talked, and this is awesome that you're here in this intuitive conversation, but it kind of feels like our conversations are always intuitive and they run deep, and we've always talked about that they needed to be recorded, and so we're
And
doing
here we are. And here we are.
that. Here we
Yeah,
are. So
all
yeah.
of our conversations are a continuation of the last one. And through, children and grandchildren and house renovations and, the thing that happened in 2020. Here we are. Right now, we're on the precipice of our 17th wedding anniversary on Saturday.
Nice.
And we are doing a home renovation, which is coming to a close, which has been real interesting because they say that it's like the most stressful thing, la la la. And it has been, right? Because it's like he's got dangerous machinery. And I'm like, oh my God. Right.
Yeah.
So I pray him off of every ladder. And other than that, though, we've gotten along pretty well, like really, really well. So I'm very, very grateful. The house is beautiful, just as I know that he would do. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
good.
Awesome. Now you said how many years?
17.
17 years. Now, what do you believe has been the greatest thing about the 17 years and the biggest challenge about the 17 years?
The greatest thing about the 17 years is being able to peel back the layers of yourself to allow another being to see the things that are not necessarily polished and fully marketed,
Right.
the raw edges, and just the deepening and the understanding of being vulnerable, of continually being vulnerable, pushes me to know myself more and deeper and wider than I ever thought possible.
Right.
The hardest part is making sure that we don't take each other for granted and to stand your ground for what it is that you believe in as an individual while you are married, and pushing the other person to communicate in a way that is amicable for the relationship itself. Um, what do I mean by that? So for me in marriage, I believe that there are two whole people coming together to create this thing,
Mm-hmm.
and getting my husband to understand that it is us against the problem
Mm-hmm.
and that we're not adversaries,
Mm-hmm.
right? That we are in a partnership to grow this thing, to keep this thing afloat, to because we've been able to propel beyond limit because we're together, because we
Mm-hmm.
make a decision together. We might have different reasons for being together, for doing a thing, but we
Mm-hmm.
have the goal to go in that direction. So that's always a really a big thing. I think I've lost what I was saying. Let me see if I can get it back. standing your ground, right? So there's
Mhm.
this thing that happens, that one partner will habitually kind of bend toward the other partner, or vice
Yes.
versa, depending
Yes.
on what the dynamic is, and letting yourself be heard without being angry, without having heat behind it, but just, this is the way that I feel about this particular thing. This is my torch to carry over the finish line, and these are the reasons why, right? And having your partner respect you enough and trust you enough to let you carry it over the line, even if you might have messed up previously in a similar situation. It's just like, but this is now, right? And now is all we have. So we can't go back and fix that. We can only be here and do this thing at this present moment.
Wow. That's powerful because, interesting enough, me and my wife are doing similar things, working on similar things, because it's, you know, easier said than done, because people don't realize that we're not conditioned to be in a relationship, even though we feel like we're supposed to be. We're not conditioned to be in a relationship like that, and to be able to communicate in a way where we're not offensive, because it feels like the first, you know, it's not even the first thought. It's like it's a big thing to protect yourself and to make sure that you're not, not being run over, not being someone else is exerting power over you, even with the person that you're supposed to love, that you're supposed to, like you said, you're supposed to be a team against the challenges and against the problems. We're not conditioned that way. Even growing up in a home where you have both parents, you're still really not conditioned that way. And to be able to try to step into that can be a challenge sometimes.
Well, I think that's why, like for me, primary relationship is school. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's like, it's graduate school, but it's still school.
Right.
You can make your own schedule, you can pick your professor, right? But you still got to turn that thesis in. It's just like, where are the words on the paper, ma'am? Like, where's the thing, right? So yes, I also grew up in a two-parent household, and I think the lexicon that is, society today, America in particular, states that, that there's this big gaping hole that happens when you are in a single parent household. And because I'm in a two grew up the way that I grew up, I can't speak to that, but there's a misconception that there's still not holes, or cavities, somewhere, like crevices, like big craters in the corner somewhere, and you're crumpled off in a corner with your ankle broken, but nobody knows, because it's like, oh, it's two-parent household, kind of a thing. um, and so there's an unlearning that has to happen, right? Because the way that your
Yes.
parents did it is not the way you're supposed to do it.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? I was just thinking that, even though and this is personal, even though I grew up in a two-parent home,
Hmm.
my entire life, looking back now and trying to grow myself as an adult, looking back, there were a lot of behaviors that don't equal relationship, and that don't work now. They won't
No,
work now.
they don't equal the relationship that you're choosing to create, but it
Yes.
was their relationship.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's hard to, like we really have to slow. The more I become conscious and aware of myself and aware of my space, the
Hmm.
more I am like, oh, I've got to slow down so I can really understand what's going on. What am I really seeing here, versus what the elements want me to perceive I'm seeing here, right?
Right.
Being
Right.
purported as truth, right? Because like you said, to your point, we're not really conditioned to be in relationship with another person for the entirety of our adult life, et cetera, et cetera. To a point, yes, that's true. But if you tell a lie long enough and loud enough, then everybody believes that it's true,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Um, but on the opposite side, it's just like when people aren't in community, at least, then they kind of perish.
Mm.
So there's this, it's just like, this is the person that I've chosen, right? I feel like we need to continually evaluate if we continue to choose them, because it is our choice,
Right.
which is hard to tell someone outside of your marriage that that's what you're choosing to do, or if you're choosing not to continue it, because people are invested or vested, maybe both, in your relationship surviving. But it survived as long as it could survive,
Right.
right? If two people are growing in the same direction or at least at the same pace, or if I have an understanding as to where he's going and vice versa, and we like the vision that each person is going in, then it's just like, oh yeah, we'll do this again.
Mm.
Like, because we naturally fall into this rhythm of evaluation, like right before our anniversary. So it's like, I like you pretty good. Let's do it another year, you know?
Right. 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 And I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. That's interesting to take an evaluation of the last year and to see, you know, what was good, what wasn't so great, to set an intention on the next year, how you intend things to be as far as the relationship and where you're going, really setting that vision. That's
Hmm.
something that would be a huge benefit, a huge benefit. Because it might,
Yeah,
how big of a deal for you has having a vision for your relationship or setting an intention for your relationship to kind of give you that bar? How big of a deal has that been for you?
it's what's kept me in this relationship.
Okay.
I mean, without an intention, like, what are we doing? Like, what's the purpose? Right? That,
Right.
like, we don't have any little ones. We don't have any fur baby. We don't have any of that. It's just me and him. He is my family, and I am
Right.
his. Right? He has children. Well, I have stepmen. We have grandchildren, but no one is in the state. So it's just we come up against it, and it's just us. So intention is very important. I can share this part with you. When I'm saying what I find myself saying lately is, you have created a home. Excuse me, you've created a house, right? You provided the house, but I make it a home,
Hmm.
right? We each have our job in the vision, right? He I don't know if this is a husband thing. I don't know. You'll clarify for me in a moment. But like if the house is not on fire, okay, he believes it's not a problem.
Uh-huh.
Meaning I have the sensitivity to kind of test the temperature of the relationship. I'm always testing the temperature, right? Because when we get into conflict, I understand and I can connect the dots that we're basically having the same argument that we had the last time.
Mm. Now that is
Or,
something that I know a lot about.
or
That
that we are,
station. Wow.
yeah, it's the same thing. And it's just like, or either we're having the same argument or we are taking the same stances that we did before, even though it's about a different topic, but really it's just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about power.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's about power. And so when I have conversation, when I'm just like, listen, let's confront this thing. Like, you do this behavior when we get into conflict, and I feel this way because based on the way that you react, and then everybody retreats to their corner, but there's no us. We lose us the second we go into conflict.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I will not do this another year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a threat. There's no heat. It's just like I'm just not made to do that. I'm not choosing to do that, right? So something else you just said, it was at the top of this conversation, you be dropping them nuggets. Okay. So there was something that is about turning these off and not letting it infiltrate your relationship. Meaning, the way that people handle conflict, they are in reaction mode. They are putting out fires versus finding solutions.
Yeah.
And it's never about finding a solution. It's about being the biggest, the baddest, and
Right.
however I can, pontificate and what's my argument and I can win, right? If I win an argument and my husband has to lose, the way I am made, I have to respect my partner. I don't want him to lose.
Right. Right.
Why would I want that?
It's like the underline of it. You have that underline that you want the best relationship. You love this person and everything that means. But in those moments, it's like those ideas, those other things are coming out. And so the question is, can you see that and can you catch it so that you can catch yourself? But a lot of times in those moments, that means you don't have the words to keep going in the conversation because it's like new territory, right? I found myself being in new territory, trying to choose to be different, and the words are not there. It's like I see all of this stuff going on inside of me. I see this frustration, but the way I'm communicating is not, it doesn't equal the relationship that I want. Right. So, how do I stop that? How do I shut that down and move over here into the person that I need to be that's creating a relationship? Because this challenge or whatever we're discussing or having an argument about is not bigger than the relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, well, so I want to make sure that we're just like being buddies and having a conversation because I really want to put on my life coach hat. So I will ask, then why can't you just say that I'm frustrated right now? Because I don't have the language to describe what's going on inside right now.
Right. And I could do that. I don't think I had didn't have those words. Let's see. If we look at the last conversation, of course, I didn't have those words. I have that now. Uh, but yeah, that's something that I feel like I could definitely say, and she could say to me, you know, to be able
Mm-hmm.
to just step back instead of moving forward in that conversation and doing the push pull thing, and it potentially being damaging versus connecting.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think people do that a lot and don't realize it. It's like, what are the, not consequences, but what are the effects of what we're doing right now as partners in this relationship? What are the effects of this? What are the long-term effects of this conversation? Because how a person feels lingers.
Sure.
It doesn't just end right then, it lingers. So, what are the long-term effects and is it worth it? Is that what I'm trying to do? Is that what I'm trying to create? Most time it's not. But how quickly
Yeah.
can right? How quickly can I adjust and get out of my own way so that I can make sure that I and we are moving in the direction that we really want to be in or that we really want to go.
Well, we just had a discussion a couple days ago, so this is like really fresh.
Uh-huh.
Um, I will share that we kept asking the same questions so that we can drill down further. Like, what do you really want? Like, what would make you happy? Like, what do you really want? Those types of, clarifying questions, right? So like Abraham Hicks talks about, it's just like, you can say the same thing over and over again until you get kind of almost like in a flow state
Mm-hmm.
of just being patient to hold your partner, to hold them tenderly for them to get to where they need to go so that the feelings don't have to linger, right? Because what we're not allowed to do in my marriage is we are not allowed to blast each other with previous arguments.
Mm.
You can't bring last argument to this argument because we're having this one.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Unless the only way that we're able to bring the past into our present is as an example, what's the word the term I'm looking for is blindside.
Okay.
Right?
That's
Which
excellent.
is really it's tricky, but it's magical because there's safety built in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in your business, how do you navigate the throes of life, family, and being in business at the same time and working with clients? And do you see your challenges, your personal growth challenges showing up through your clients?
They're the same things. They are exactly the same things. I feel like I'm uniquely designed to help the clients that come to me because they are, they're either at the same level or just a couple steps or a couple minutes behind.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just like, oh, I just experienced this thing. Here's how I approached it, if asked, right? But also, it's just like being able to get into their model of the world is the most important thing, so that we can really understand, so that I can really understand the mechanism as to how they've derived at the place that they've arrived at,
Mm-hmm.
right? But also, it's just like, but is that what you really want, right? Because we get lazy, right? Even in our language, in our attitudes, in our feelings, right? When we get lazy, we get complacent. But it's really about, people say, oh, it's just like I don't want to get stagnant. But if we are lazy in our thinking and in our language, then you're already stagnant,
Mm.
right? So helping my clients understand, hey, look, listen, this is your landscape. You get to play in it, you get to create it. But also, if you don't like the results, it's your responsibility.
Right.
What are you willing to do that's different than what you've done and different from what they say you ought to do, right? Like, I had this one client who was engaged, and she broke off the engagement and she told everybody about it. And then I could tell she still loved him. And I was just like, of course you still love him. Like, you were going to build a life with him, like, duh, right? And I was just like, my motto is you will love him until you don't. You might
Mm.
sleep with him tonight. So y'all decided that. Like, it's up to you. Like, don't paint yourself. Nobody puts baby in a corner, right? From Dirty Dancing. Nobody gets to put you in a corner but you. And if you find yourself in a corner, the only person that can walk you out of it is you. but because of shame, because I said something that made, like kind of like put the nail in the coffin. Now I can't do other than what I said that I wanted to do. And it's just like, yeah, you could change your mind.
Right. Right. But that sounds like a lot of work, though. That level of sounds like, do you get pushback on the level of responsibility that's required?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not for the faint of heart, right? I'm not, going back to my relationship, we were having this discussion that was just like really, really bugged me. And uh, my husband said, "Oh, I says when I've expressed this and shared this with the friends that I've shared it with, they agreed like this was ridiculous." And he's just like, "Oh, of course they're going to agree with you." And I was just like, "No, no, no. I don't choose people who kiss my ass. I do not choose. I do not need friends in my corner who are not going to push me to be the best that I can be." Right? If I need correction, I need a friend to tell me that I need correction. I'm out here. I'm like, there's no ceiling. I'm the ceiling. I'm the walls. I'm all the things. So I need somebody to come in my house and be like, girl, them walls is dirty. Right?
Yeah.
So I coach from that place. Right? I'm holding the vision, I'm holding the line of who you said that you want to be, of what it is that you say you want to go after. And if it was easy, there'd be no need for me. There'd be no need for me, right?
Right.
I'm just checks and balances. You said
Right.
you wanted them, right? I tell my clients at the beginning of it, listen, you're going to get mad at me. Please understand, I do not care. I only care about your well-being. I care that you are well. I care that you are joyful. That you're seeking your highest joy, not happiness, right? Because that's a happening, but your
Right.
highest joy, right? That you are well with you. And even if you're not well with you yet, that you're on the road to doing so. That's it. Because the ripple effect of someone that is healthy from that place, oh man, come on. Like we because a new earth, a new world is being created, right? The split between 3D and 5D is happening. You could see it. It's like a filament, and it's getting longer and longer. As time speeds up,
Mm.
this filament is getting longer and longer, and everybody's having their experience, and you get to choose and choose your adventure, right? Like that is real. Like, right? It's like, wow, wow. Yeah.
So do you find a running theme of challenge with your clients? Is there something that seems to be like a running theme between them? Like if you were to say one or two things that seems to be the biggest challenge that most of them have?
Yeah. Just feeling guilty for being sad.
Mm. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, like they feel sad. They don't know why they feel sad. Like they shouldn't feel sad because like they have all the things and the trappings and the no, all they checked all the boxes, right? But there's still this sadness. Either it's a sadness from childhood or it's a sadness from not being chosen, right, by a significant other. Um, yeah, sadness.
And does that resemble like a value or personal value? Or how does personal value play into that not being able to or having that level of sadness and carrying that? How does that play in?
It carries out through everything, right? So is it value? Yes. So I call it self-worth, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, looking outside of self for things and people, like think of a noun: people, places, and things. Like if you're putting something outside of yourself, you're looking for a noun. You're looking for this thing, this nebulous mist of a thing that really is inside of yourself. But we have been conditioned to always look outside of self, to take care of others in order to gain acceptance and value and love and
Right.
worth, right?
Mhm.
And we can never do enough, right? Because it's like what's that nursery rhyme? That nursery rhyme where it's just like, dear Lila, there's a hole in the bucket. Dear Liza, a hole, right? So it's like if you don't address the hole, no matter how much you pour into the bucket, you
Mm,
always gonna have to be pouring into the bucket.
right.
That's exhausting, but
And
that's what we do.
and it I'm familiar with that, believe it or not. I'm familiar with that, carrying that type of thing. And how do you feel, or the one's ability to realize their power? How
Hmm.
far how far away from that place are they, as long as they are looking outside of themselves for validation?
How far away? Wow, what a great question. 180 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
180 degrees. Which is not far, right? Because the sphere of self, like your where your avatar ends, energetically it extends out. But I tell people all the time, whenever the masses are telling you to look in one direction, please turn around. The answer is behind you,
Mm,
right? So if I'm looking out this way, the answer is behind where I'm originally pointing. It's here. It's
yeah.
here. It's here. But that's the hardest place. It's the place no one wants to go. They're just like, like when I talk to clients who are like on the precipice, of being 30, right? Or so for some people it's 40, right? It's like, oh no, I don't want to go. They're like Pepper Le Pew. They're like, oh no, right? And it's just like, but that's the very place you have to go, right? To birth a new you have to go into the dark. You have to go into the darkness. Nothing, 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 nothing on this planet, in the universe, in the cosmos is done in the light. It must be crafted in the darkness.
Isn't that something I came across? I can't remember if I came across it, or if, or if I channeled it, but it was something about the doorways. The doorways are in our, was it the doorways are in our pains? The doorways are in those places where we have been frustrated or feel like we've been hurt. That's where huge wells of power and strength are behind it. If you can go through it instead of pushing it away, or hiding from it. What do you hear in that?
Well, pressure creates diamonds.
Mm,
If you're complacent, then excitement, creativity, all the higher vibration, well, let me say this, all the juicy vibrations
mhm,
that you're wanting, right? Compassion, thoughtfulness, kindness, love, joy, right? All those things are behind this door you don't want to go through,
mm,
right? Uh, it's a portal. It's an invitation, right? It can start with an idea. You have an idea, you have an inspiration to go in this direction, but you don't know anybody who's gone in that direction.
right,
There's no instruction manual.
right.
There's no sign on the door to tell you what's on the, you just have a key, and it's like, do I do this thing? And it's just like, So I heard this guy, I love him, Dr. B Serious, Dr.
Mm,
AH at the end. And he said, you know, the weight that you carry is in the waiting that you're doing,
mm,
right? The weight is in the waiting. It's like, what? That is
mm,
it, right?
mm.
And not for nothing, you look around in this country, how many people, like, from the time that we were children to now, who are carrying excess weight, like huge amounts of weight.
Oh yeah.
There's a link there.
I have an example of when I first got out of college and I had taken a sales job and I had huge fear of rejection. And I would sit, and it kind of relates. I would sit and I would need to make calls. I would have all of my stuff spread out. But that fear of rejection would get so big in my sitting there thinking about it. And inside of me, I would be evaluating all the possible things that someone would say that would hurt my feelings, right? But the times that I was able to just make the call, once they answered, it was all gone. But in the waiting, in the preparing, in the allowing all of that stuff to flow, that's where the pain was.
Because you were stuck in inaction. You were you
Yes,
were you were in your mind full of scenario, but that's not action, right?
yes,
It's picking up the phone, inhaling, exhaling, and dialing 10 digits. It's
right.
like that takes seconds, but for you, and in those scenarios like that, it's a lifetimes happen in
Yeah,
all these different
yeah,
scenarios. And it's that's what we do, right? It's just like, you want a guarantee, you want this safety. Safety is not something that you were okay. So I'm going to talk about all the antidotes that I say nowadays, right? It's just like, you beat out all the other sperm.
hmm,
You beat them all out to come here and sit down, to come here and have a sure thing. Are you sure? Like, are you like, does that even make sense? Like, 46 chromosomes got together and made a you, right? You got
right.
hair, you got hair cells, you got heart cells, you got all these different things that are like playing this humongous, beautiful symphony that is you. For you to be guaranteed safety, what for, like, what was the purpose of coming here? For what?
Yeah.
For why?
One of the things that's coming through now for me that we talk about is being on the edge of your comfort zone. It's like that's where the life is. That's where life is, being on the edge of your comfort zone, constantly finding yourself in a place where you're pushing your boundaries, where you're exposing yourself to the ability to grow and to expand, whether a little bit or a lot, past who you're being right now. Because it's like we're here to become the next and the next, and there's nothing wrong with that in whatever direction that is, right? Whether it's relationships or financially and business as a parent, you're becoming. Are you becoming the next version of yourself, the 2.0 version of yourself? That's the point, right? And you can tell when people are not doing that. That's kind of what we were just talking about. That's where all of the stuff is setting in, and they're a lot of times not happy with themselves. But that's why they're not on that edge, like that edge where you really you're able to breathe, where you're breathing. It's like, all right, let's do it. You jump.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like the assumption is also, like sometimes when people say, as people might be listening and watching this, it's like, well, I don't have excess weight. Yes, but you have visceral fat around your organs.
Mm,
Or, it could be something as simple as you have insomnia, but nobody knows it but you and maybe the person that you're sleeping next to, right? Or you don't use the bathroom in excellence. You know, you should be able to look back at that thing and be like, I did that. Right? It's just like, you know, in and out, right? It's life is an accordion, as above, so below. So even the smallest, most minute thing, right? So when I used to be a massage therapist, getting people to deeply breathe from their diaphragm and not their upper chest, right? When you breathe into your belly, then the top of your body doesn't have to work as hard. The
Right.
problem with that is that over time, because the ribs have such short muscles inside and outside, right? The outside and then the inside where your organs are. After a while, they get so tight and so constricted. What happens? So now it has to your neck muscles and now your upper back muscles have to help you breathe.
Wow.
So then now when you start to breathe it from your diaphragm, now you feel lightheaded, right? If you yawn a lot, that means that you're not breathing deeply. Your brain needs more oxygen,
Mm.
right? So we've been conditioned to be a cog in the wheel. And if I'm playing my part, then I don't have to think about the other pieces, and this keeps me safe. If I become an entrepreneur, then now I know that, I've got to learn how to trust myself to know that there's always a safety net somewhere. If I have a passion, we've been conditioned that we must monetize it. They're not mutually exclusive. I can have a passion that never materializes into money. It just helps my creative flow do that which I'm here to do, which is to create flow and experience.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when those things collide, awesome, amazing. Yes, great, go for it. But the second that you hit a roadblock, do something else, right? So like I came to a standstill with my business because we took this house. I'm looking around because I'm in my house. We every doorknob, every baseboard, everything that you could think about is brand new, and we did it ourselves with the exception of the electricity and the plumbing. Okay, and he did some of the plumbing, much to my horror. Anyway, so the point is that I had to put my business on hold, and it took me a minute to relax into the idea of the question that I always ask myself: what is required here?
Mm.
Even though I had that question and I ask it all the time, I did not ask in this particular scenario. And
Yeah.
so it made me resent not being able to get to my business. And I was just like, but there's only one you. There's only one you. You're all hands on deck. You're making sure that you guys stay healthy, et cetera, et cetera. You're helping with, the construction of your home. Let it be enough, right? So I'm putting all my creative energy into this house. But if I like, let's say I need to write a blog post, okay? And I've got writer's block, right? I'm gonna go color. I'm gonna go make a meal. I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna do a myriad of other things to let the blockage remove itself. And of course, I'll be inspired in the shower when when there's no pen and paper,
Right.
right? But at least now it's unclogged, right? So there's nothing stopping me from doing the thing, right? In college, I was always the kid that wrote the paper at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because now there was no, it was go time. Like I had to get it done. I had all this time, but I couldn't. I go, oh, I distract myself, and I couldn't get it done. That's the way that my creative flow works, right? But then you watch all these like productivity gurus on YouTube and everything, and they tell you like, oh, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Listen, no. No, it doesn't work for everybody.
Now, you mentioned symphony a minute ago, and it made me think about how, and you just kind of described it too, how life can be a symphony, that the importance or the priority of things in the moment can shift and change, and how you have to be okay with that and not let it be a source of frustration or a means for you to go into a low vibration, and recognize that your life is not in pieces, that it's all connected. And that's what I'm saying. You just described how you can go do something else, something that seems completely unrelated, but it allows the blog post to flow, or it allows the new business idea to flow. When you went and took that walk at the park, how everything is connected, and it's important for you to be aware of yourself and to know when you are in that flow and when you are pushing and trying to do things. Does that make sense?
It's perfect sense. It feels counterintuitive because the powers that be, or the people that are the loudest on the boob tube, will tell you that you gotta hustle, right? It's just like, but you have ulcers. Why are we listening to you? Like, this is ridiculous, right? It's like, oh, but you have 4 children. Oh, you're not raising those children. Your wife is, right? Like, you have 4 children, yes, Benny?
Right.
But you're all hands on deck with those children.
Right.
Versus a Gary Vaynerchuk who can tell you that he's like at work at 10 o'clock at night. Great, because his wife is at home raising his children. So it's just like, when do we trust ourselves enough to be like, yeah, that's great for him, but this is the way that I need to do this, because these human beings that have been assigned to me need this from me, and I need this from them. I need to know that my eyes have seen them today, that I've asked them how they are, that I've loved on them, and I'm pouring into them in a way that they know that no matter what, I see them. What?
Right.
Like, that's golden, right? So, but those are the choices. It's like, and that goes back to, the beginning of this conversation. It's just like, how well do you know yourself? Can you stand your ground, right? As above, so below, right? So the symphony is the thing, the avatar that we call Fonda, that we call Benny, but it's also the symphony of who are the players in your life. And that chime is too loud. Let's take that out, right? Let's, we need to turn up I don't know music, so I don't want to embarrass myself, but like, what needs to be tweaked, right? It's a constant this, right? I had a friend of mine. She was a runner back in high school over 30 years ago. And she's talking to me about 30 years ago. And I'm like, girl, you're not the girl anymore. You're a big woman now, right? Your body is different. Things are different. What do you need to do today? Today. It's always today. Get present, right? You have to get present.
And that's an adjustment of the mind, right? Because you're saying get present, and as you were talking, I had on me the trust in yourself and not looking outside of yourself. Yes, you can look outside of yourself and find and get inspired, or see an idea playing out for someone that you feel you could apply to yourself. But you have to make sure that you're not trying to be something or someone else. You have to find it inside.
You have to be your own version. So peak if you must. Peak for inspiration, right? Don't need it though, right?
Right.
It should be a spark that you make a fire, right? If it, how can we, okay, I said it like this. If there are 8 billion of us on the planet and we are all God breathed, right? We are pieces of consciousness, right? Do we really think that consciousness source itself wants to have 8 billion experiences that are the same or different?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Like if I were source itself and I send and I'm because I could, okay, because I'm source, I could be like, nah, I don't want this many of me down here. Right? So when people talk about overpopulation, well, that's up to source. Source can make it just like that. Nah, y'all out of
Right.
here. Right?
Right.
Like the dinosaurs ain't here no more. So, right? Like I love elephants. But I'm curious about what the mammoth would have been, right? But I don't know. So it's just like, okay, so there are 8 billion of us here. Like even though you and I are having this conversation and we are, we're in sync, we're in flow, we're having this great, beautiful experience. Our experiences are different. Our
Right.
takeaways are different. And if I watch this back, it'll be different again. So the sameness that we think that we're supposed to have, it's really about unlearning the lie. Where is the lie? If something is causing you a lot of pain, look for the lie that you have bought to be the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And that
Even
question,
in my,
what,
huh?
what, what is the lie or what is the misinterpretation that I have? And then what's the truth? Right. You can follow it up with that. What's the truth for me? Wow.
Well, I do a definite pattern interrupt with where's the lie? Like where is it, right? Like for
Yeah.
you that feels softer, and for me, if I gave myself that out, then I would make it I would waste time. And I need to be jarred. I need to be like that language for me is the best because also then where's the truth? Well, there are many different versions of the truth, right? If you and I are both having this one experience, but we're having different experiences, both of
Right.
those things are true. So then, like, which one is more true? And you know what I
Right.
mean? So so it's simpler for me to be like, where's the lie? And so for your viewers, the reason that this is so beautiful is like which version at whatever moment that you need it, which tool applies to whatever situation you're in whenever you're in it. And if it ceases to be helpful in that moment, knowing and being willing to try something else
Mm.
is important,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You
You don't have,
drove this,
you don't have
huh?
to stay with the same medication if it no longer feels right. You don't have to stay with the same practice or thing or if it doesn't feel right or if you know that it's not working, right?
Right, like like Tony Robbins, he talks about the values and stuff that people look for, and one of them uh, is he talks about the things that stick out to me. I'll say contribution, right?
Mhm.
What is your contribution to this event, to your life, etc.? And variety, right? If you drive to work the same way every day, your brain can kind of turn off as it gets you to work, and now your mind is off somewhere, right? That's dangerous.
Right.
You know, do something do something where you can stay engaged and stay in the present, right? Even if you're tweaking it just a bit. Like I've plenty of clients have said to me, "Oh, I just don't know how to meditate." Meditating can look Meditating is having awareness of the thing that you're doing while you're doing it.
Mm.
My issue with I love being American. I love great, check all the boxes, say all the things I need to say, blah blah blah. My problem with being with Americans is that we will take a concept and we will score it down to the bone, and then we'll create this other thing. What do I mean by that? Meditation is one of the tenets of yoga. I think there are 8 tenets of yoga,
Okay.
right? So in other words, yoga now just means, who can outstretch the other person and bending themselves into these poses, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like, but honey, like, yeah, you could do that. You're double jointed. That's great. That's great. But have you, what awareness are you now privy to that you weren't before you could, fit yourself into this pose, right?
Mm. Mm.
How aware are you when you're taking steps like from the kitchen to the bathroom or wherever you're going? Like, how aware were you? Right? It's just like, well, that's ridiculous. Like, why do I need to slow it down that much? It's just like, because when we can slow our lives down that much, they get to mean more,
Mm.
right? Versus these big peaks, right? So like we're only celebrating the milestones of air quotes, the milestone of a birthday, if it's your 40th or your 50th, beyond. But 51 is important. All of them is important in order to get you to 60. Like, what are we talking about? Right?
How how big of a deal is it? I mean, I'm looking at myself. How big of a deal is it to slow down and to? That's funny. The awareness that you just talked about. I know that, but I don't practice that as much as I feel like I should. Especially now that we've talked about it, I'm really thinking about that now. How big of a deal is that? Having that awareness from slowing down and I've got on me now just really enjoying things as you move through life, enjoying your food. I mean, I watch people eat so fast, right? And then I remember the guy. He's transitioned now. He was a monk guy. His name started with an N, and he had books and all of this stuff. And I remember listening to him talk about eating.
Thich Nhat Hanh. I think
I,
I'm mispronouncing his name. Vietnamese monk.
yeah,
Yeah, I love him.
I,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
remember him talking about taking. I may be wrong, but it was a long time. I want to say an hour to eat. I mean, and that's about awareness. That's about being aware. It's about being present. It's about being in the moment, and it has so many benefits. But we are being conditioned to move so fast. There's always a next thing that needs to be done, and it needs to be done now. Last year when my wife and I we went to Florida for our anniversary.
Mhm.
And, growing up, our vacations were always 2 or 3 days max. And conditioned, that's what we had been doing.
Mhm.
But last year, we took, I want to say, 8 days. And we
Mm.
didn't drive, we flew down. I became aware that it took me 3 days to stop feeling like I needed to rush because we were getting ready to go back.
Wow.
When that hit me, it was,
Mm.
no, we still have a whole nother week. We're
Mm.
not leaving until next Sunday. And it was like
Mm.
Saturday.
Mm.
It was like the
Mm.
next Saturday or the Sunday before. It's like, we're
Mm.
not leaving until next Sunday.
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
they said on me that, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Mhm.
I was still
Mhm.
feeling like I needed to rush. I was still feeling that weight
Mhm. Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
of your awareness in the moment.
Cumulatively, it robs you of your life,
Mm,
right? So, like, how important is it to slow down? It is. It is everything, right? Um, People are in pain. They're the walking wounded because their dreams um, are almost unachievable because they didn't take the small seemingly insignificant steps that they needed to create their peace and to create their joy. They didn't choose themselves. They said no. They said yes when they meant no. Um, but we feel like unless we have like this big grandiose like Instagram life, that we're not significant. But when you can slow down your experience to have a conversation like this, to listen to your child express their day, to stop what you're doing when your spouse comes into the room and to light up and to make a big deal about it, even though you saw them 15 minutes ago, who cares? Who cares? Right? Like what they care and they feel good, and now you feel good, and now you've made a moment out of nothingness. That's
mm,
all that we're doing. We are creating out of nothingness. Even the biggest movie star has created out of nothingness,
mm,
right? And they are playing pretend based on somebody's regular life. And now we go and we watch them create this performance out of nothingness from being regular, and then you go back to your regular life and now you feel insignificant. What?
mm. And do you call that manifestation? Is that manifestation in the moment when you create an experience like that? Because we don't
All of it is
manifest.
manifestation. Yeah. 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 Just like, you invited me to have this conversation, and we didn't discuss what we were going to discuss, right? We've manifested it, like following the energy, and
Mhm,
trusting ourselves enough to know that we were going to show up full and play full out, and that's all this is, right? I decided, speaking of variety, I had some shrimp in the freezer, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna make me some shrimp burgers. And Fitz was all, do you know how to make them? I'm like, no.
idea though.
No, I do. I was like, I do not, right? And so I'm looking it up online. I'm looking at all the recipes, and he's just like, well, how hard can it be? You go put your hot mama on it. It's a spice that I make. And I was just like, no, I need information. I said, I need information so I can throw out what I don't want, throw out the ideas that don't serve me or that are not in my kitchen, because I'm
Uh,
not going to the store, right?
uh,
This is the challenge. And these are the things. It's like that's what creates a memory. Oh, remember the time you did the thing and it ended up, it was a disaster, or it was beautiful, or whatever, everything in between. We're
right.
waiting for this big grandiose thing to happen in order for us to celebrate. But if you get in the habit of being celebratory, then the
Uh,
opportunity it can happen every day. It
Wow.
can happen
Or
every moment.
it is happening. I said it is happening. But you just said about waiting for the big thing. And in waiting for the big thing, most often you're not in alignment with the big thing because you're waiting and you're probably frustrated because it hasn't happened yet. And so you're not in alignment with it. And so it never happens. And you find yourself never having a reason to celebrate.
We are conditioned to we're habitual, frustrated beings.
I have a story for you. My guy,
Um,
I take my guys to work out for basketball. Me and my middle son got up this morning. My youngest had workouts at his school yesterday, so he was like, "Nope, I'm not getting up in the morning to go." So we got up 4:30 to be at the Y at 5 when it opened, so we could work out for an hour. We've been doing that for a while now, because basketball season's right around the corner. Kendrick is a senior this year. But my guys, I'm working with them diligently and trying to do it in a way that they don't push against me. They are conditioned, just what you just said, to celebrate the misses and the mistakes. But when they do things correctly or they make shots, nothing. Right? The emotion and the bigness is applied to the misses, but not to the makes. We're not celebrating our successes. We are conditioned to celebrate. And it's celebrating when you're applying that emotion and you're making it big in the mind and the body, and you actually say words and behave in a way. We're conditioned to celebrate our problems, to celebrate the mistakes and the mishaps, and to celebrate the missed shots versus celebrating the makes, not knowing we're programming ourselves, continuing the conditioning in that direction. So I'm like, guys, celebrate the makes. Don't think about the misses at all. Don't give it any more energy. But they're conditioned to that already. And so it feels like an uphill battle trying to get them to celebrate and their successes. Because they'll make 8, 9, 10 shots in a row. And nothing. They might smile a little bit. I'm like, that's normal. You guys know how to shoot. But when they miss a couple of shots, I'm like, no, forget it. Don't give it any.
Absolute devastation. So there's a two thing going on. So in competition now, I don't know if they're doing this in other countries, so forgive my ignorance, but to celebrating because someone has a participation award, I think is ridiculous. Right? Why are we getting sixth place awards? Like I don't understand that. I don't get that. There's that. That's the elephant in the room for me, right? But the other thing is this devastation, because I just watched the World Championships for track and field. And these people are amazing at what they do. Like absolutely amazing, right? So like I think India was doing track and field. It was men's track and field, and it was important for them to qualify in these championships so that they could like be open for the running in the Olympics, right? And I think it was like a 4x400 or something like that. And they got fifth place or fourth place, and they were absolutely excited because this put them in the running, right? I also saw people win silver and bronze, and they felt like, man, I really accomplished that goal. That was amazing, right? But then if the Americans did not win gold, some of them were not gracious. They felt as if they had lost. And I'm like, well, how disrespectful is that to the people that you competed against? So you're basically saying that their will and their effort and the fact that they beat you, they beat your ass. The fact that they beat you, that doesn't count because you didn't win? Ridiculous. But to the point of not of berating themselves when your boys miss those baskets, it's this devastation of, oh, I'm not being the best.
Mm.
Right? So even when I am the best, I'm looking for the next time I fail versus the fact that I am just being, I'm in the zone, I'm in my flow. Right? And maybe it's really about because children are different now. They are, we can't raise them the way that we've been raised. My issue with our generation is expecting our children to be us, which
Mm.
is why our parents had a problem raising us because they wanted us to be them, right? And it's like, just we have to gently do this. We have to just guide them in the way that, in the safest parameters for them to go, because they're going, right? Because collectively, these humans, the younger generation, have chosen to come in together to do and create this thing that's being created,
Right. Right.
right? So within the parameters of this matrix that they've created, that we are in, how do we teach them that being humble under the guise of being in the collective and being accepted is bullshit,
Yeah.
versus just being humble because that's just your beingness? Like, but if that's not you, then don't be that,
I've
right?
had challenge with that word humble, having, in the way that it is portrayed growing up
Hmm.
in, religion.
You and I've
It,
had this conversation many times. Yep.
yeah,
Hmm.
it, what I have learned is that, the language and the words that we use, the meanings and the interpretation changes depending on the vibration that you're in, right? Being powerful in a low vibration and being powerful in a high vibration are two different things, right? We're taught, as far as power in a low vibration, that it's damaging to other people, you're hurting somebody, you're willing to do anything and everything to get ahead. But power in a high vibration means that you are fully you, and you are choosing to be brilliant, and that's what you show up as to everybody you come in contact with, or some version of a high version of yourself, because you're selfishly choosing that.
Well,
Things.
even the trigger word that you just mentioned, like we could wax poetic for another hour about the term selfish,
Mm.
right? um like we were just talking about productivity, right? I'm watching someone on YouTube and their version of being productive, right? It's just like, I don't have to damn someone for their version. I can celebrate their version, because
Right.
that automatically means that then now I have the room to do my version. It's not supposed to be a carbon copy of them. It has to look the way that I say that it looks, and I tweak it accordingly because it has to fit inside of my life,
Mm.
right? So when we are talking about excellence, like when people okay, I do have male clients, not as many, but they tell you got to pick a niche, so that's why that's the verbiage that I put in my bio, right? But when I tell people, especially women, it's just like they have this thing about being selfish, and it's like, okay, the most selfish act that you've ever done was your first act on this planet as you. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm just like, you didn't care the cost, even if it killed your mother, but you
Mm.
were born. The simple act of being born is the most selfish act. So you already intrinsically know how to be selfish. So cut it. Stop it. Stop the story. Right?
And
Life or life or death. I'm sorry. You cut out
oh,
a second.
I said it's natural. It's not, the challenge at speaking for myself again, the greatest conflict, the greatest inner conflict that I have had and have is going against myself. And I'm noticing it more now how often I go against myself for others, right? And it's most people close to me. That's where it shows up the biggest, most
Mm-hmm.
often when you start dealing with expectations and things of that nature, and you find yourself doing things for people when you said earlier about saying yes when you really want to say no. Along
Mm-hmm.
that, it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like you're giving yourself away a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it turns and it feels like conflict.
It's inner conflict. You're accurate. It is conflict, and I was my issue with when people ask a question, when people ask me a question, all right? I know that it is my I, I strive to be autonomous in everything, always. And so when you ask me a question, I know that it is within my right to say yes or no.
Hmm.
Period. I'm not asking for permission. I for the most part, I'm not afraid to take up space. I'm not afraid to stand alone. But when people ask you a question, they are conditioned that you are supposed to say yes if they want you to say yes, and no if they want you to say no, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, but I'm not your pawn. I'm a sovereign being, right? And you don't get to chip away at me for your benefit. That's a hard pass. No, right? And it goes back to the self-worth thing. So like the more we get to know ourselves, right? And to know that I have the right to say yes or to say no with no heat and no judgment
Right.
from them or for me, especially for me, right? To build a soft place to land within yourself is the biggest tool you could ever build for yourself. To give yourself grace, to be kind, right? Because when you're kind to yourself and you're compassionate to yourself, your whole world must bend to that. It does not have a choice. It might be crappy as you're getting to know your no, right? So it's just like I could really coin myself as the queen of no. I could.
Yeah.
But as you're like getting to like get used to the no, right? It can be a shitstorm for a minute. And it calms down. It's like, oh, we don't do that over here. I gotta go somewhere else to get my fix, right? Now, I'm gonna say what I need to say, and you can respond however you respond, but I'm gonna stand my ground. Why? Because my biggest teacher, I picked the best professor in the world for me, and that's my husband.
Mm.
And if I could say yes or no to him as I need to, I could say yes or no to anybody. Anybody.
And I was going to ask, how do you, and you kind of went over some of it, beginning to choose that, getting to that place, going through what you have to go through to get comfortable with it, and also doing it from the right space or the right energy. Because a lot of people can, a lot of people, I'm trying to find other words or other scenarios, but a lot of people can say no in that idea, but they do it from an free place. They do it from a place of frustration. That's what gives them their power versus being in that space of I'm comfortable with me and I'm saying no. That's two different things, right?
I think it's a path. Right. I think there's an assumption that you get to a place and you're big and bad and don't dare and blah blah blah. And sometimes you have to be uncomfortable in your no until it becomes the thing that you can pull from and choose should you need to do that. Right. So if you ask me something and now I've got to say no, right? And no, right? And so now I've got to get mad at you or the situation, and I'm frustrated, but I'm really indignant. I'm appalled that you've asked me such a thing. How dare you? I've got to do that thing until it's just like, oh, man, they have a right to ask, just like I have the right to decline.
Yeah.
So it's path, right?
Yeah.
Because if you say yes enough times to a thing that you really want to say no to, now you're in a scenario, you're in a situation, spending time doing this thing that's now obligatory. And man, I could have been watching the game. I could have been picking my nose. I could have been doing anything other than this thing that I'm hating right now. Right? You do that enough times and you're like, how do I make a change in this? How do I do this different? Like what would this look like if I can say no? Okay, okay. I have this sweet ability to say no, but thank you for asking, right? And please ask me again. And I mean that. I love that you asked me to have this opportunity. It's a no for me now. Not an explanation, right? You go into an explanation, the person that asked you is waiting. You froze. Are you here? I wonder.
Yeah.
Okay, your screen is still frozen. If you, huh?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right.
If you say no, comma, then the person that asked you is waiting for they're waiting for the reason why you can say yes.
Mm. And in that moment, are you giving away your power? You start
Yes, you are. Yes, you
notice.
are. Because you want to be liked. You
Yeah.
want to be liked. You want to be accepted. You want them to know that oh please, oh no,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
just
nah,
bent over. It's just like you're bent over. Yes.
no, absolutely not. I do not want to do that right now. But thank you for asking, and please
Yeah.
ask me again if you mean it. If you don't mean it, don't say that. Don't say it to try to be nice, right? Because and that goes back to I think we were talking about before we got off on a tangent of being selfish. We were talking about humble, yes, and we were talking because humble. They've made humble a synonym for modest, and they're not the same thing. Which goes back to the fact that we are lazy with our words, right? We say one thing to mean another. Like I don't know if you've noticed, like even when you're sending a text message to someone, and now the emojis wants to override the words that you've said.
Mm.
And it's just like, okay, what is it? What the yellow is that throat chakra?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it second? No, I think it might be solar plexus. Either way, it's taking away your words. It's taking away the power. It's taking away the emphasis. It's taking away the context, right? And if you let something, a machine, an AI, right? We're all of a sudden scared of AI, but not afraid of the cell phone itself. Like that's another conversation. But you know, taking away context creates drama and strife and misunderstanding,
Absolutely.
right? We can't become lazy in our words, because that means that we're lazy in our thinking, which means that we're not really using all of our mind, right? They say to you, oh, you only use 10% of your brain. Well, that's not true. I use more than 10% of my brain. Okay. There's no junk DNA in here. Okay. Listen, like I need all the synapses, all hands on deck. I need help with this thing, right? Right. And maybe, okay. So I got a question. So maybe the 10% of where we are in our minds, the brain itself, brain mind, okay, there's another lazy synonym thing.
Yeah.
Perhaps in the brain itself, that's so that we could be downloaded information. So as we ask questions, the answer comes down into us, and it needs space in order to have some place to land, in order for you to perceive and receive what you've been asking. What you think?
Yeah. I think, I've always said the biggest thing is your ability to ask questions. But oftentimes we need a little information to spark the questions, and not to be scared of, again, what we were talking about before, the new experiences, because that's what creates the ask, and even in your challenges, what's true for me, what's like you said, what's the lie, what's the misinterpretation, and start asking those questions and look inside for the answers and allow that download, but you have to know that that's what happens. You have to know that, the answer's coming when you ask the question.
Yeah.
And I've been
Yeah.
asking lately.
Yeah. Well, I think in adulthood, well, first of all, let me say I never met a stranger. Like I'm just like I feel that there's a commonality between every single person, no matter the background. I might not necessarily want to hang out with that person, but they're not a stranger to me, because I've got family who are more strangers to me than strangers, right? So there's that, right? That said, I lost my train of thought. Squirrel. Asking a question, having an answer. Yeah, I got it. I'm lost. I lost it.
Strangers, that's powerful too, because you never know the connection that you have with someone, and how it can, how much bigger it can be than that which think you have with family, those who are supposed to be family, but there's distance between you and them. And you can meet somebody on the street and feel like you're connected and have known each other forever.
Yeah. Part of what I think I wanted to say is that when you feel like everyone's a stranger, then you feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
And being alone can be misinterpreted as loneliness. And so now you're on the defense with everyone, even the lady at the Walmart. right?
Mm.
Versus if life is happening for me versus life is happening to me.
Mm. And that's something that I have myself have started working on, trying to feel the connection between myself and people. And the what was it, last weekend or weekend before last, I had been playing with that and playing with my energy around it. And I went to watch the UFC fight at Dave and Buster's at the mall. And I had two people come up to me and just started talking. I went by myself. I was sitting watching the fights, and the manager walked by. I saw him walk by, and he came back. He asked me how everything was doing, and then he left like 15 minutes later after this entire conversation. You know, and then another guy came up and did a very similar thing. And it's like, opening yourself up to that connection, opening yourself up to people, and it feels it's different from how I have been, but it's a way more expansive way to live, and it also is showing me even more so that what I'm giving off, what I'm expressing, is what's creating the experience, is what's allowing it.
And it goes back to self-value and self-worth, right? If I
Mhm.
know that life is happening for me, then what is going to surprise and delight me today?
Right.
If life is happening to me, who's going to come and F up my day today?
And it's scary.
Well, right. It of course it's scary. Like if life is happening to me, like am I gonna get out of the day alive? Am
You
I
know
gonna
what? I have felt that was my life for a long time. Just
dang?
just that constant, just that constant worry of a potential danger, right? A potential danger, a potential threat. And I know where it comes from. It comes from events in my childhood, but not knowing that's always been a low hum, you
Mm,
know, as I have
mm.
walked through life, it's always been a low hum. And that's just recently, as in the past few months, that I have become aware of that to the
Where
degree
does
that in order to be able to, it's in my conscious awareness now to like, no, I'm not choosing that anymore. And I think that's when I started doing opening up my connection and looking for that connection and feeling that connection with people, because I've always had that arm's length, arm's length thing going on because of that feeling of that looming danger. And that separates you, which was talking about the loneliness and being lonely. It separates you, and that has separated me from people. And I've become aware of that. It's been a big thing. But it goes back to what you were saying about the value and the worthiness.
right? I mean, well, one thing I'm very, very curious to know, if you could identify where does that sit in your body?
It's at the top of my gut. It's right here. Yeah, it's right here. Now I've had things that are in the middle of the chest, and I've had things that's over my heart, but this one is right here at the top of my stomach.
So the rib cage at the bottom. I'm just try to see here. So like at the rib cage right here, where that ends, I think I'm fading out because I've got the blur on.
Yeah.
There's something called the xiphoid process. It starts with an X, xiphoid, and if you touch it, it can when you touch it, like let's say this is it, it moves a little bit. So, and it could break, and that would not be good. I say that to say as you're thinking about that, or when you think about that, just think about moving it, right? Think of it as a like a little satchel, or however they pronounce that, a little sack, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little sack, and it's just like, okay, so I get to move it away, right? Now, the thing that's so interesting about that is that what we're talking about is not the thing that is being Black in this country. It's another. It's the other thing, right? So there's a thing of going out into the world as a Black person that one needs to be aware of. At the same time, if you wear it, then you will attract it.
Right. Right.
So there's this thing where, like, as I heard you, expressing, if I were raised in a place where I got to leave my house while in my garage and get into my car, where I didn't need to be forwardly facing, other people until I got to my destination, then yeah, I can kind of feel, I could try on what you're saying to be so. But I grew up in a big city where I needed to be, I commuted with strangers
Mm.
who I could smell what they had for breakfast, either from the rooter to the tutor. But anyway, you get my point. So it was just like, how to be around people and to feel where I begin and where I end, like I know how to do that thing, which is separate from being aware of your surroundings to read the room if you need to get the hell out of Dodge because some dangerous racist shit's about to go down.
Mm.
So, like, navigating, it's an accordion, right? It goes back to the symphony. But really, I really feel like life is an accordion. Like, what's the threads, right? How do you expand it? How do you close it back? So yeah. The thing I want to ask you though is this. Okay. So we talk about low vibration, we talk about high vibration, right? And depending on the context, which we also discussed, it means different things, right? We are trained to believe that low vibration is bad and high vibration is good, right? But then if a person is manic, then they're bad. Then they need to be on medication, right? But the earth herself is the lowest vibration of all, and that is very good. Thus, we are here.
Mm. Mm.
So it's an and both, and it's that accordion thing happening again. So I don't know necessarily where the question is. I'm reaching for it.
Yeah.
But if we were to, like,
Is
I've
it a
done a,
vibe or is it it kind of feels like there's a density piece in there as far as like physical manifestation. It's like there's a like a flower. If you call the flower beautiful, it has to be at a certain density in order to be physical, but that density doesn't make it low vibrational.
mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, okay. So then I think the question is, like, does vibration and frequency mean the same thing in this context?
Mm.
No, right?
Mm.
Gaia, Earth is a frequency. You and I are a frequency,
Right.
and a vibration is something other. right? When someone feels low vibe, they feel, I think what people should start to feel through is, does this situation, person, place, or thing, here comes the noun again, do they feel heavy or light?
Mm. Yeah.
Right? Like if I'm with you, if I'm hanging out with you, with anybody, but in particular you, because we're having conversation, I feel jazzed, I feel ignited, I feel a spark of inspiration. I'm like, ooh, what else is possible? And I'm like, my brain is pinging, right? Versus saying yes when you mean no, and now you're in a situation with a person where you feel like they are siphoning your energy,
Mm.
and because you said yes, you feel like they feel like they're entitled to your energy, but you just said yes to the thing, not to my energy itself. But
Right.
now you're in this situation that you've put yourself in, and should you find yourself in that situation, you could just be like, I thought this was going to work out for me, but it's not. I got to go. Where you going? I thought I have to take care of myself,
Right.
right?
I think, yeah, I think there's definitely a difference, and you can feel, like you're talking about, you can feel it. But you have to be again strong in yourself. You have to be that awareness piece again, uh,
Mhm.
slowing down, and in order to be able to distinguish between the two, right? What feels right for me, what doesn't feel right for me, because it not might be, it will be different for the next person. But it's important that I or anybody gets to that place, especially if you're on this journey that we're talking about, gets to that place where you're aware of you and you're able to interpret the information that your body offers and that the feeling offers.
Yeah, and it's different than, we are cogs in the wheel of the matrix that says and dictates that you have to, you know, win every confrontation, and you've got to, win every argument, and you can't be, like, you can't be a sucker, whatever that means. But when you don't slow down, if you're unwilling to slow down, you will only get yourself into more strife. You will only get yourself into more conflict. You're not there to find a solution, right? Fact finding is not a place of
Right.
solutioning, right? They're not the same. Um, I'm about solutions. I'm about everyone expressing their own sovereignty, even if it is my husband, and even if I don't necessarily agree to the avenue that he chooses to go, right? Our agreement is, listen, just don't break my heart, right? Don't break my heart. And you know all the ways that I mean, right? Um, because I'm too cute to go to jail, okay? Um, um, but other than that, it's just like holding something against a person, even if okay, so in the case where someone asks you something and you say yes when you mean no, and you know um not resenting them for asking,
Hmm.
right? It is they have this space. You've created the space for them to ask because they're in your life.
Right.
But
Right.
you also have the duty to answer truthfully.
And that might be why they showed up, to give you that opportunity to begin to build that muscle.
Because let me tell you something. Once you say yes to someone about a situation, they always, always, always assume that the answer is always yes every single time after.
Mm.
And then you gotta claw yourself out of that. But I was just like, no, 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 I'm not the one. Like I don't know who told you. Just because I said I was trying to be nice, right? So I had this conversation with my hubs all the time. I don't strive to be nice. Nice is not. I don't live in the land of nice. Nice don't live here. I'm kind.
Mm.
My intention is to be kind, but I'm not trying to be liked here. This is not a like a like contest. No.
That's powerful. And that, I mean, that still goes right with what we've been talking about, that self-empowerment, that personal power, because, again, that conditioning of being nice and being careful around people and their feelings and how they feel. To do that, for that to be who you are, you're going to be constantly neglecting yourself.
And then that's where sadness comes and takes a seat and moves in all of his luggage, puts the
You,
portrait it puts its portrait up, starts to
yep,
scratch his belly. You know what I mean? Like it's like, well, who told you you can move in here? And it's
yep.
it's it's a it's a it's a it's a torture, but no one knows that you're experiencing it because it's
Nope,
happening all in here.
sure
And
don't. No one knows. And it's like
no
a
one.
huge system starts to build or has been building, because most people, if you're listening to this and you don't know the experience, you didn't just start doing that. You've been doing it a long time, maybe all your life.
You've
Just
been
like,
trained, yes, you've been trained to do so. Yes.
but you know the feeling of that conflict.
Hmm.
I saw it play out plenty of times, especially through my dad, him feeling like he needed to do things for people and not really wanting to. And
Mm.
the frustration was the truth, but then in front of the people, you know, they didn't get to see, it wasn't right for them to see. So all of that is inside, gets swallowed. But as a child, me being there, I know what's there, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
and by seeing that, I get taught to be the same way, you know.
Okay, so one of the reasons I'm so adamant, uh, I mean, well, I've also, it could be a myriad of things, but the one I will share here is this. I saw my mother say yes when she meant no, and she
Mm-hmm.
swallowed her no. She swallowed her autonomy, and she kind of like got chipped away at,
Mm-hmm.
and it became an ulcer, and it quickly manifested into stomach cancer. And so that is the connection for me, that I want people to understand that, the way you feel and what you think and what you say out loud and inside here manifests, and it shows up on your body eventually, right? Sadness not addressed can turn into shame. Any of this can turn into shame, or and then to feel empowered, then you blame a little bit, right? But my mother, her wanting to be a good woman, to be a good wife, to be a good mother, right? She just didn't say, I'm not doing this, I'm tired. I'm tired, right? Um, she passed away. It'll be 29 years she passed away. So I watched her decline quickly, right? And it's not okay. I say I'm sharing this story to give a visual. Like everyone has an example, immediate or, extended, of someone who is suffering in some way on a physical plane, where they can see, if they look closely, to connect the dots. For my mother, it was stomach cancer. For someone else, it could be diabetes. It could be hypertension. It could be hypothyroidism. It could be cancer. It could be anything, right? And am I saying that, your thoughts become things? Yes, I am. Am I saying that we can manifest dis-ease? Yes, I am. Right? I spent over 2 decades watching people deny themselves, and it show up as body pain, chronic body pain. So either it shows up on the body or it shows up in the body, but it's going to show up. Right? Wait for it, right? So like if we wait, the waiting that we do shows up as weight. So even is it physical weight? Is it emotional weight, like that in the top of your belly? Is it manifesting as visceral fat, or some malfunction of your vital organs? And P.S., they're all vital, right? I mean, all of them. I'll take them all, please. So she had an opportunity to change her mindset, and she did for a while. But when it came back so quickly that I know that she knew that it was back before she actually spoke it. She feared that it was back. She was having conversation in her head about it. But by the time that she allowed, my father to take care of her, to get her to care, the story had already played itself out for her. And she didn't have there was not enough time on this earth plane to course correct. Right? Am I blaming my mother? No. Blame and responsibility are not the same. They're not the same. What I would give to feel my mother's skin against my cheek right now, I can't even explain. But because I cannot have that, I must use her as a template, as a muse, to alert people to wake up to themselves, that you are enough, that you are worthy of taking up all the space in your life. That's what it's for. You beat out all the other sperm. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. As long as you're not causing harm to others and yourself, do your thing your way, no matter if it makes sense to anybody else. You must.
That's powerful. And so true. So true. Again, that speaks to me on the value level. You have to look to yourself, begin to trust yourself in order to really begin to step out and live your life completely. You have to turn your eyes off of all the people and all the things, and look to you for guidance, look to you for the strength, and take some time to find those things, so that once you find them, you can go about life and be inspired and be passionate about that which you are excited about. And like you said, know that you're enough. No matter what's happening around you, know that you're enough, and know that you are, whether things work out today or not. But you can find the thing that you need inside.
It's inside. You already have everything you need. It's like Glenda the Good Witch from Wizard of Oz. Like you've always had it. You've always had it. When in the moments when you don't feel worthy, and I'm not saying that every moment is rosy and amazing. It's not. It's not. That's how you can the contrast, right? The polarity, the law of polarity is always in motion, right? Everything is in relationship to its opposite. If I'm not feeling good one day, I should not feel bad about feeling bad. I should just be like, ooh, how can I get to neutral? If I could just get to neutral. I know
Mm,
I'm capable of getting to neutral. I've done it before because I've experienced joy before. So can I just breathe to get to neutral? Turns out I don't even have to breathe consciously. My body breathes me.
mm,
Thank God. Right?
yeah,
Because in the
yeah,
moments that you didn't feel worthy of breathing, you keep breathing.
yeah.
Your heart keeps beating, and everything is just like, oh, okay. What? This is a miracle. Like, how can you not think that this is a symphony? Like, this is a symphony for real, for real.
And when you really get down to it like that, it's this, I don't know, there's an excitement at the bottom, you know,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
a bubbling going on. And, you might have to work your way to it, but there's a bubbling going on and there's an excitement at the bottom. And if
Hmm.
you find that and situate yourself in it and then turn and live life, things are completely different. Completely different.
Hmm.
Fonda,
Hmm.
any last words that you would like to share?
Just to reiterate again that, you are enough. You've always been enough. Life is about the experience. It's not about a destination. So many millionaires talk about, the fact that, what do they say? Because I'm not a millionaire yet. But they say that it's not about the millions that they have, it's about the journey on the way to the millions that
Mm,
was so important that they missed. So let's slow down. If you know that you're enough, then there's no rush, there's no hurry. That's it.
that's that's awesome. And again, where can people find you?
Find me at embody5d.com. Embody5d.com, EMBODY, the number 5D is in delicious.com, or Instagram at Fonda Clayton.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Fonda, thank you so much for participating and having this awesome conversation. And everybody that's listening to this conversation, we thank you for being here and sharing. And we know that you have found pieces that are specific for you, that are beautiful and awesome, and hopefully accelerating for you down your path on this journey. We love you very much. And we'll be back again with another intuitive conversation. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.